This was a good fight for Blank, right? He gets the triple knock up, and then he gets the 4-man Cataclysm, keeps his carries alive in the back. So Blank proving that he's back a little bit in terms of his team fight play. As you mentioned, needs to deal with the early game a little bit better, and then we'll have a more complete jungler here from SKT. But certainly this is not going to be the series where SKT is tested. A lot of things are being revealed, right? Some more of Blank's weaknesses in the early game. Also, Xayah for Bang is just, I think it's ban-worthy at this point. I don't think you let him get this pick again and again when he plays this well again and again.
I mean, our issue there, though, is we knew that already. I could have told you before the start that this is a team you ban Xayah against. Xayah Rakan very often is taken off the board. But some teams you ban Rakan, think of Afrika Freaks, think of BBQ Olivers. Other teams you ban Xayah, and that is SK Telecom T1. They've already shown they will play Xayah with a different support. They do it again here. Too easy for the side of SKT, and I think you say it best when you say this is not the true test for them. We just want to see Blank pop off in the early game on a champion that wasn't Zac, and while that didn't fully happen, to some degree it did, because his team fighting on the Jarvan was good. That's going to be a question mark going to the future. Now SKT, one game away of finally cementing 4th spot, which would be kind of an amazing turnaround from a season where they were as low as 8th or 9th for some of them.
And KSV, they're watching this game. They're saying, okay, well, it looks like SKT should have some luck here against Kong the Monster. This seems like a pretty obvious MVP. Xayah for Bang is just something we've seen him pop off on again and again, and once again against Kong the Monster, no surprise.
He may also be able to jump to 2nd overall in the MVP points, because we already have BDD at the 1,000 mark. No ability for Bang to get quite that high, but he is going to be able to get low. So BDD at 1,100, and Bang wants to join the group of players from Afrika Freaks at 900 points. 800 is a good return for a season where the team hasn't done as much winning as they traditionally do, and a 42% damage share lets you know that it was all about Bang in game number 1.
I really liked that fight in the bottom side where Olaf was coming in, and he was essentially, even though effort got really low, he was going 1v3 for a good 5-10 seconds and didn't seem scared at all. He knew he had the support. He was playing that Xayah really well. You can see he's got utmost confidence in this champion and in his play on that one. So we'll see if they take that away. But then again, Bang has proven himself on other champions, namely the Varus, the Ezreal. He's looking pretty good on those as well. We'll see if he can really ban out Bang, or if he's just too strong in that position. He's been looking better as time goes on here in Spring.
He and Faker closing in on 2,000 career kills around the world. 1408 in the LCK for Bang, not including all the other tournaments he's played though, so stats can't lie. Bang is in great form, certainly a turnaround from a summer season and a Worlds that he wants to forget. We're waiting for the all clear on going into game 2, and it sounds like it's just about time.
Looks like we're ready. We're gonna jump into pick and ban with the smirk on Faker's face. Let's jump into it right now. Here we go, jumping straight into it once again. SKT really doesn't want to give Soul that Jhin. Seems like the same ban so far to start things off.
Does make you wonder that SKT are banning Jhin on blue and red side. This could just be that because Jhin has kind of been a recent development, both around the LCS regions because of the change on 8.5, that perhaps they're just not ready for it yet. We know that Bang is a legacy Jhin player. They cannot afford to be banning it on blue and red side against KSV and then onwards in the playoffs, but for now at least, they seem unprepared for the Jhin. They don't want to play it, and Kong the Monster finally gets the memo and says, how about no Xayah for Bang?
Yep, seemed like an obvious change to the pick and ban, but then the first pick onto Taliyah here for Faker, another big pick for SKT.
This is also a week 9 pick. Taliyah priority has gone way up. This week in particular, as teams moving away from the Azir. Azir is banned in this game, but Taliyah is getting a lot more respect than she was previously. A couple of weeks ago, we saw Taliyah's popping off and said, surely now's the time. It has slowed down a little bit, but Taliyah priority in yesterday's series was massively high as well in KSV and Kingzone, but no surprise to see it jump up here as well.
Doesn't mean that Raze will get another chance at the Olaf. Looked good in the early game. I wouldn't say it was his fault that Kong the Monster lost as a whole in game number 1, so they're happy to give that pick to him once again. Ooh, okay. Quick pick on the LeBlanc here for Edge. They're looking to counter Faker in the mid lane.
It's an exciting pick as well because Edge is one of our legacy LeBlanc players. Think of Kuzan, Edge, Kuro, and Faker himself, of course, as famous LeBlanc players. Very strong pick into the lane. It's why Kuro is so strong, because he plays a great Taliyah and a great LeBlanc. See if Edge is going to be able to isolate away the Taliyah and attack it in lane. And SKT with Zac available, maybe skipping over it and going for the Sejuani. They seem to be more about building confidence for Blank on other champions than just sticking with the trusty Zac that they know Blank can play.
She wants SKT to get into 4th place. Big fan of Faker there as well. Was surprised that they let also the Varus go through. They just let Bang just pick up that huge 80 carry pick. They want to put Soul onto the Ezreal once again here.
Now, Olaf is seen as a pseudo counter to the Varus in terms of team composition. Doesn't take away the very reliable, very strong laning phase from the Varus. But you run at Varus, you try to trivialize him in a fight, and if Olaf can just remove the threat that is Varus in a team fight, he's doing his job. So that's probably one of the reasons they're considering it. They do pair it with an Ezreal, though, so they are trying to once again play through a very early power spike. Ezreal probably going to be Trinity Force Rush 2 games in a row, you'd imagine, as that was what Soul did in the previous game. They were unable to wield that one with power, and kind of believe it when we see it phase when it comes to Kongnu Monster being able to play around a 2-item power spike. But so far, the draft does make sense from Kongnu, and it's going to be fun to see the LeBlanc try to isolate things against the Taliyah.
Certainly will be. We'll see if Blank can help out in the mid lane, certainly on the Sejuani. That will be one of his jobs here. They're going to take away the Braum from Effort and the Vladimir from Tal. A bit scared of those picks after game number 1. Some solid bans there.
Kongnu Monster's in a really awkward spot because usually you would want to counterpick support with the Ezreal to make sure that Ezreal has good lane presence against the Varus. If they do that, then you say, okay, yeah, no problem. So we can get a tank for Roach, that'll be fine. Then we will see Trundle come through from Tal, and that's where things go downhill. So how will they actually react here with top lane and support being the roles they need to consider? I think Roach getting safety is probably what you want, and that's why they have to go for the support here. They have to stick with the Ezreal Alistar again because they need to ensure that there's not a free Trundle lane available to Tal.
So they just give the Alistar over to Secret once again. He's currently 4-3 on the pick. If he loses tonight, again, that means he will go 4-4 and will not have a winning pick, unfortunately. SKT hovering the Camille here. We'll see. They actually do change it here to Tom Kench. That will be locked in. And once again, thinking about that Camille as a blind pick into the top lane.
Very, very safe into the champion pool coming through from Roach. You're not really concerned about any picks. He will lane into it. Showing the Poppy, which works in the Camille matchup, of course. Tal has already played that this season and looked good on it. They will just go for the Camille. Bit of reliable engage and a great split pusher. See what Kongnu Monster wants to run in this particular case. Could just go for Sion top lane if they want it. Not banned so far in this draft. The Orin that has been one of the capable ones for Roach is gone. And, well, Roach is trying the Fiora once again. Good luck with that one. He's going for the Fiora. It is a matchup where you have the slight advantage. But Roach has very much, through his career, built his role as a full-on tank. He is the tank player. He is not the off-tank player. He is largely just on Orin duty. And now he's going to be taking the Fiora. Kongnu Monster don't necessarily have a comp that can play around topside particularly well either. So we'll see if Kongnu Monster can make this one work. As Fiora and the LCK, not the greatest pairing of all time.
Certainly is not. We'll see if he can actually go head-to-head with Tal. And I think a lot of focus is also going to be on the mid lane up against Faker. Certainly if they can blow his flash with the LeBlanc and the Olaf making their way towards the mid lane, could have a bit of fun there.
But this comp has no identity from Kongnu Monster outside of win lane, win game. Fiora is good into Camille, yes. LeBlanc, very good into Taliyah, yes. But together, they don't really do anything as a full-on composition. They have power, they can win lane, win game, but doing that against SKT after being 1-0 down as the 10th place team in the league, a very outside chance. Meanwhile, SKT...
Here we go, match 89. And SKT, one game win away from making it into the playoffs, into 4th place to face KSV in the first leg. of the gauntlet, that wild card match, that first best of 3. They just got to get through Kongdu, and so far it's looking pretty good, Papa.
Usually at this point, it's about the mind games for SKT. They do have to win, but of course are heavily favored to do so. So the secondary objective is show some stuff and put some question marks into the heads of KSV, as that will be their opponent. If SKT win, no way for Rocks Tigers to make top 5. They will end 6th, which in the LCK does not represent playoffs. So Tal this season is 0-1 on the Camille. So showing the Camille in the blind pick role is something SKT is going to try to make work, and if he has a big performance, that's a potential ban for KSV to worry about. Cuve, one of our better Camille players. Faker on the Talia, and the early priority for the Talia is something that they are showing that is new also, which will be a question mark. Laning phase against the LeBlanc, very painful as a level 1 electrocute proc comes through. Just to answer a question that I'm sure some people are wondering is, are we seeing history being made in the worst way on the side of Kongdu Monster in terms of losing streaks? Because they lose here, it will be a 14-match losing streak. The answer is no. Sonic Boom in Champions Summer 2015 went on a 16-match losing streak before beating Jin Air 2-1 in their 17th match. So it is not historic level for Kongdu Monster. The double awkward thing for Speno is they were actually the title sponsor of the league in the same season as well. So not the best advertising, you would say.
Well, BBQ, one of the sponsors here, not the title sponsor, but one of the sponsors of this LCK, and at least they did not get into 10th place this time around. So they got that going for them. Blank on the Sejuani here. You mentioned that. He's not going to be on the Zac this time around, but another tank jungler that's quite high up in the tier list. Another moment for him to prove to everybody that he's turned the new leaf and he's on the path to greatness once again. And
he gets stage experience on the Sejuani into Olaf, a matchup that could very much happen against Haru against KSV. Sejuani is seen as the best tank to lane into the Olaf because she can queue over the wall and disengage his axe trade. So finding a good performance on the Sejuani that he's actually looked pretty damn poor on this season is important for Blank. It is his 6th game on Sejuani, currently 2-3. So playing themselves into confidence, showing new picks. That's what's all about for SKT. As already, their fans and also the players are saying, once we hit the gauntlet, we have already made it from the first match of the gauntlet to the final as recently as last season. Why not again this year? It's definitely spending your money before you've earned it. But for SKT, with their history, they're definitely going to continue to shoot for the top.
Yeah. We see more advantageous trades here for Edge in the mid lane. We should expect that to continue. And yeah, it certainly seems like SKT has finally landed on 5 players that will bring them success. A lot of people were saying it's not going to be Blank after the beginning of the season. Blossom looked good, was very refreshing. The aggressive play, the solo queue-esque style was good to, hearten the SKT fans and bring them up once again. But after a couple of big mistakes, they decided the veteran of Blank should come back, and so far he's proven that he deserves to be here once again. Effort also replacing Wolf down on the bottom side, as well as Tal up in the top side over Untara.
And I think a lot of fans won't know this, or have not noticed this at the start of the season, but Plan A for SKT was actually Bang and Effort. It wasn't Bang and Wolf. They did not intend for Wolf to be the starting support. From the start of the season, every game in their opening struggles, it was Effort at support. Back at the Kesper Cup, they were starting Effort in support. Wolf started in the jungle before he started in the support role. They seem to need him for shot calling, but now they've worked through the kinks of having Effort in the lineup, and Effort is back. So this is SKT actually being able to do what they intended to at the start of the season.
The idea of Goma finally comes back, and we all begin to understand. We'll see if it actually works for them. I can certainly see, it's only one best of 3 in the wildcard matchup against KSV, who is a great team. They came really close to defeating Kingzone in a best of 3, so certainly they could do it up against SKT. It's not going to be an easy match for either team in that wildcard.
A hype one, though. Only a best of 3, as it's technically not part of the playoffs, kind of in a weird gray area where it is regarded as a playoff match, but it's not a best of 5. We do not have the best of 3 opening playoff game and the blind pick final game in the 5-match series anymore. That one was taken away, along with the memes, by Riot Games, but dreams are still there that will have a very fun goal, and we have so many strong teams. There's a lot to look forward to when it kicks off on Saturday.
Tal hits level 6 here, but so far Roach has been going 1 for 1. Here's really the question as Edge pops back after the second leash there.
And on a simple level, they have a counter matchup in mid, a skill matchup that advantages Fiora in top, and a jungle matchup where if you invade, the enemy jungler backs away. It is win lane, win game on the top side for Kongdu Monster. And then a lot of safety is also his hang back.
Faker in a lot of trouble, takes a bunch of damage, not quite enough.
There's a lot for Kongdu Monster to play around in the early game. In this particular one, it's just 5v5, where they just haven't drafted a comp that works in a 5v5 sense. Blank's main job is to jungle top side around top and mid, put down wards, and stop anyone from dying. That is really what he needs to do. This is the sort of game where you can't hold against him lack of kill involvement, because these are not lanes set up for kills. These are lanes that need protecting.
Certainly are. I mean, when you're a jungler and you have to go into lane just to help your mid laner push it, you know you're struggling. But
okay.
Here we go, grand challenge. Roach looking for the 1v1. Not willing to dive the turret, though. Another situation where you get the laner low and hope to push him out.
He needed to get the back vital first, because the back vital being the last one up, he would have had to flash for, and he knew flash was up for Tal. So kill pressure there was implied, but not actually enough to be completed upon. Raze is jungling topside and will put down a control ward. We mentioned Blank's job. He's going to be topside. He's going to try and stop there being a turret dive on Tal.
Raze doing a good job of being at the right place at the right time along with Blank. Kind of mirroring each other so far. Raze hits level 6 in the lane. Thinking about an engagement, a flash forward over the seismic shove, and first blood will go over very early to the side of Raze once again over Faker.
And Faker just didn't respect it. He had his own flash up. I assumed this flash was down to make the play. It wasn't, and they pick up the kill. Really creative by Edge. He is one of these forgotten LeBlanc mains from previous seasons. And a big confidence booster for Kongdu. They've got first blood 2 games in a row on SKT.
Somehow, some way, SKT get behind early. They bring it back in game number 1, but now you've got a fed LeBlanc in a lane that's advantageous. I love this flash. The confidence just saying, nope, I've got the damage.
Important thing for Faker is he couldn't have flashed out of chain range. If he had flashed at the end, he would have got more to safety, but I believe he still would have died. So easy to lay blame on first glance. On second glance, I think he was probably done for there when the chain hit. Blank is on blue buff clearing duty, but he's super low. Is it going to get the full releash? Nice bit of play there from Kongdu Monster. They continue to play around the winning lanes, and that's exactly what they want to do.
Yeah, another kill, another first blood over to Raze. Would have liked to have that first blood go over to Edge, but you can't really, you know, force the kill onto him in that situation. But certainly more CS and an assist over to Edge is going to make that lane even more fun for the LeBlanc.
All about how big an advantage you can get when the game is about laning phase. The length of the laning phase has gone up and down many, many times over the course of League of Legends history. Just think back to Worlds when the Ardent Sensor meta, we would have forever laning phases where the support will come out with 1.5 items, the AD carry with 2 items. Laning phases can get a lot shorter. And for the side of SKT, it's all about weathering the storm in the laning phase, because in any 5v5, when the teleports are coming in, they can use a semi-global from the Taliyah. They should be trading up unless LeBlanc gets really fed, which 1 assist in the early game does not constitute.
Yeah, we're not at the really fed stage right now. Not even fed. Just doing well, feeling good, winning the lane so far. Picks up the blue for herself. Thankfully, Faker and Blank were able to make the blue go over to Faker. Otherwise, it would have been even harder. Although Taliyahs these days do pick up the tier into the Archangels as soon as possible, so don't really have a lot of troubles with the mana in terms of that mid lane.
Yeah, Archangels, Banshee Veil. Those will be the core items for Faker within the first 3.
Oh boy.
So the blast plan up to disengage.
Blank getting a little bit frisky with some of the wards, trying to clear that one. Oh, we got to engage here from SKT.
Who's ganking who?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. We're going to have the ults thrown in. There's the wall onto Edge, but getting low once again is Faker, and down he does go. But the LeBlanc will go down 2, so a 1-for-1. That battle on a knife's edge, only the mid laner is going down.
Roach had the teleport advantage, used it, They're going to have to get an Inferno to make this worth it. The Fiora teleport is always questionable, especially in the early game with no Ravenous Hydra. If there was no Fiora involved, this would be advantage Kongdu turning onto the Inferno. With the Fiora teleport down, maybe Tal can do some playmaking and punish the TP usage by Roach.
Well, that is going to go over the Infernal to Kongdu Monster. Blank didn't even have his smite available to try to steal that. But let's take another look at how this fight happened.
Yeah, we saw the start of it and we thought it would be over from there. But then the pincer comes through from Bang and Effort, and going upwards is not an option. The Weaver's Wall to cut them off, but everyone opts into it, knowing this is coming. Soul can just pop over the wall when he needs to. Faker right into the middle of the fight. Was inevitably going to die. It ends up a 1-for-1, but Roach finishing the teleport does muddy the waters a little bit.
Yeah, it's an awkward situation for a Taliyah. You might look at that, more damage in the mid lane as we expect. You might look at that and say, yeah, Faker, he just ran right into it, right? But if he stops early and goes into the Dragon Pit, he's not in range to get enough damage to kill Edge. So a very interesting fight at the end of it all. Would have been cool to see if maybe he goes into the Dragon Pit and still is able to do the damage, but I don't think so. Fortunately, he was running straight first into an Alistar, so not the most fun of times for a Taliyah.
Always a weird time when Faker is having some struggles in lane and then is making some plays that, on the one hand, you can understand, on the other hand, you question, so has been a bit indifferent from him in this game. Was much more on point in game one, but plenty of games still to be played 12 minutes into the piece. Remember, we have to keep returning to the fact that Kongdu are all about the laning phase. The post-laning phase, unless they get massively ahead on the LeBlanc or the Fiora, is going to be very tricky, because if SKT ever control the map and can force Fiora and LeBlanc to group, they're going to be really happy.
Certainly they will be. We saw Effort making his way towards mid lane, but that's all warded up. They see him coming in, and actually, they want to engage onto him with that vision. They're going deep again. Effort is getting low, but so much blown. Here's the Olaf versus Varus you were talking about going well. They zone out Bang, and now Effort's going to be low. Down he does go. Bang returning to the fight.
TP.
Not enough damage. The TP coming in. They only get Secret on the back of it here. The chain's going to land onto Tal, keeping him out of the fight. The flash in from Faker. He wants to get the kill on Olaf, but in the end, will only get the flash, and there it is. Roach now pushing the top side, a 1-for-1 at the end of it all.
It ends up being a 1-for-1, just like we saw previously, but the SKT will want a secondary objective, just like we saw Kongdu Monster able to pick up. Very nice disengaged chain from Edge, spared the blushes of his team because Camille was set up. Get a double kill on the back of that. A lot of damage onto the turret by the Fiora, but not a turret destruction. This game closer than the SKT fans would prefer. Secret saw Tom Kenshin decide they were going in, as Soul was able to react very quickly. And this is a preview of what Raze is wanting to do against the Varus. It's why Olaf into Varus is seen as a good matchup. You look at an ulted Olaf, and as Varus you say, well, my ult and my E do nothing. Has to flash away. No damage out of Bang in this fight, and the flash away from the Q. He's able to pick up the kill on Secret, but this chain is the difference between a one-team fight for SKT and a very even one.
At the end of it all, so many flashes burn. Secret, Soul, Edge, and Raze all having to flash to get out of that one. At least 2 flashes from Faker and Bang also going down in the fights. But again, you got to question, Kongdu Monster winning their lanes, but they still say, hey, we got to go balls deep in the enemy jungle and try to pick off a Tom Kench. Is that really the right answer here? So far, it's definitely been questionable.
Excited to see some other things that we haven't been able to speak about recently. Tal back in the lineup. One of the forgotten things is that Tal heavily struggled on teleports when he was on the lineup earlier in the season. Is he going to be able to be on point? The one around the bot lane, you could say he was a little bit late. Of course, his failure to teleport onto the Zac Bloblets was one of the big problems he had earlier in his run. First time around on SKT. So something to remember is in best of 5, if he's going to be starting all 5 games, he will have his shoe on both feet, both on the defensive and the aggressive side of the lane. And his TP play is something that he's needed to level up in the offseason.
Raze going in once again. Blank is very tanky, but you got a LeBlanc on you right now. Trying to help out here is Faker, but there's Edge. Gonna pick up the kill. Tom Kent's coming in, and oh, the play. The Chains of Corruption is gonna catch him on the backside of that. Able to trade the kill onto Edge is SKT. and Kong the Monster will eventually be able to disengage.
Just a 1-for-1, and I think 1-for-1 does help both teams situationally. They're turning on to Bang, has no summoners.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything, no way to get out. They hand the kill over to Soul. Questionable about how he got into that position, but Kong the Monster going to be happy about that kill.
I don't understand why he'd be going the aggressive way back to lane when Tom Kench wasn't with him. It seems like a communication problem from the side of SKT, not knowing or respecting where Kong the Monster was at. Trying to rush down a turret. They're investing in teleport. They really want this.
Kong the Monster just non-stop aggression going on in here. The TP comes in from Edge, and they wanted more onto Tal, who's forced to flash away. Trying to hold the turret 2v3, and then the TP coming in. SKT trying to hold on. It's not working.
Everywhere Edge goes, he's been able to impress with his chain accuracy. So little LeBlanc this season, but the little bits we've seen, including Kuro's great performance, have reminded us of the power of the pick. Kong the Monster have a big gold lead, and win lane, win game was their only win condition. We're going to watch the replay. Blank walks up to Olaf. It's the reality of being a Sejuani, and with the LeBlanc being in a great position of power, it ends up being a trade kill as Edge goes down, but the kill's picked up by Effort awkwardly. They just wanted to secure it as fast as possible. We need to watch the minimap and understand how this part happened. They knew 3 members were there. Bang walked up anyway, and he was just saying, am I safe, am I safe? The answer was no. Raze could come back with the water walking, and Soul is on Ezreal. That was definitely a decision-making mistake, and that was the plague of Bang in summer of last year.
He was safe when he was first moving to the brush, but once he stutter-stepped twice, that's when he was not safe. And it's hard to make the decision. As you mentioned, I think he just going to go down in the end. Roach now getting low. Nice riposte, but not enough help to survive. Only a 1-for-1. SKT, though they do take out the mid lane turret, going to feel good about that play.
The flanking Fiora is far from the deadliest. Dies pretty much for free. Could have just stayed onto the Rift Herald and picked that one up, you'd imagine. Kong the Monster going to try and turn this into an Infernal. Camille's teleport is up, but doesn't have the Hextech ultimatum. A second Infernal to play around the Fiora and the LeBlanc is pretty happy times for the side of Kong the Monster. SKT wanted to weather the storm. Instead, they've kind of opted into the storm with 11 kills in 18 minutes, making this game pretty bloody by LCK standards. And while the win condition be extinguished if we had an even game at 20 minutes, we don't, and that means that Kong the Monster still have a chance.
You got 4-2 LeBlanc, 2-0-3 Ezreal. Looking pretty good. Gonna take another look at the trade. Fantastic Devour here from Effort. As Faker looked doomed, he was gonna be bopped straight into Edge, but Effort good positioning. Will be always willing to trade his life in a trade. And of course, Roach, no way to get out of the Hextech ultimatum is the trade in the end.
Look, if you can instantly hit a fight with your headbutt Pulverize, definitely go for the flank. When you're Fiora and you are very much not set up for hitting a fight, then maybe be a bit more defensive. Just kill the Rift Herald. That would have been a bigger win for the side of Kongdu. A lot of 1-for-1s this game, which, as I was kind of alluding to, kind of weird to quantify. As the game state is now, it's good for Kongdu because Fiora and LeBlanc want kill pressure on their opponents. As the game goes on, it means there's more gold in the game, and that is eventually going to mean a grouping phase, a vision line, and SKT having the 5v5 advantage. So right now, it's all about SKT finding ways to defend their side lanes, get a defensive control ward line, and creep it forward. Whereas for Kong the Monster, the LeBlanc is massive in the side lane. The Fiora is pretty close to 2 items herself. A lot of good news stories for Kongdu, and the Ezreal just happily wave clearing in mid.
Blank looking to make a play onto Edge, but he's actually going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Edge, though, as I say that, just gets blown up in the left side. You get stunned and seismic shove. There's no getting out of there, even if you are LeBlanc.
See how much SKT feel like they can bite off in this particular case. Tal looking for the flank. Baron has spawned, but they don't seem to be wanting to try that just yet. Baron damage not massive. It's only the Rage Blade and a bit more attack speed. The recurve bow onto the Varus. But a pick definitely does slow down Kongdu. It does square them up. Suddenly, 3 or 4 members are grouping in front of you, and it's no longer about the side lane. So do that 2 or 3 more times. The Baron threat gets higher. The gold continues to roll for SKT. There is light at the end of the tunnel for SKT, but there wasn't a bend on the GPS navigation. They see the bend now, and that's something they have to circumvent to get to the light.
Still liking Kongdu's position here. The 2 Infernal Drakes are going to be so good, especially as we move on. the LeBlanc, Fiora, Ezreal. Always going to have fun with those Drakes. And a third one on the way is going to be even nicer for them. If they can pick it up, though, we'll see. SKT definitely going to try to punish them at that objective. We'll see what they can do. They also have a decent amount of Baron taking potential with the Talia in the mix with the Varus.
Edge's CS values are pretty low for competitive CS for a mid laner. He isn't able to pick the side lanes very well, as with Gunblade, you stain off the wave when you go for your W into Q clear, but has been focused on the skirmishing and the fighting, which is what his team has needed. Does put him in kind of recovery mode now, where he kind of wants to side lane for a little bit. His second item will be a Banshee Veil to answer what Talia has.
So just trading here so far, Kongnu Monster still feeling like they're in control, looking for effort. Another chains is gonna land onto him. He might be just blown up here. Here comes Faker with the wall, but eventually effort does flash out of there and gets out like a failed flash from Raze, means he should be going down here. The kill is gonna go over to Blank, an unfortunate situation for our Kongnu Monster jungler.
It doesn't feel like Kongnu are counting summoners. Effort had both summoners available, and yet they still look for a pick on him rather than just having LeBlanc in the top lane pushing out the wave, as Fiora was already getting great pressure in bot lane. They're making these desperation plays. They're looking for see hero, kill hero when they don't need to. And now SKT put the double control ward onto Baron. That one's a mistake. They're actually almost on the same pixel. They're very much about looking for the Baron bait. That's the sort of thing that will draw up the Fiora and paper over the side lane weaknesses that SKT have had in game number 2.
Kongnu Monster, you find themselves in leads sometimes in the games, but they manage to throw everything they've got into trying to kill one big catfish. And so far, it's not really working out for them.
They actually didn't have full information on effort because the control ward was sticking from SKT. But Edge pops over. They desperately want this kill. Aren't able to get it. No Ignite riding onto the catfish. Raze fails to flash. He dies. Again, this play is much cleaner if Edge is on the side lane, if they're pushing up, they're trying to make SKT accountable. And usually where you see that sort of play is around the enemy blue buff. You put down wards there, you're able to cut from mid lane to top lane. As the enemy team starts to get a bit worried, like, oh no, they have vision of our blue. Are they going to start Baron soon? We can't allow this vision to be down. That's when Edge pops over the wall and looks for a chain play. But they didn't have full information. They didn't have an idea of the summoner spell timings, and they get justly punished. Kongnu Monster.
Well, they've got to calm down here a little bit. I know they're trying to make plays, but time after time, they just go a little bit too far to kill effort. I don't know what he did to Kongnu Monster, but certainly tonight seems like they've got something out for him, whether it's Braum or Tahm Kench. And I mentioned that third Infernal Drake coming up real soon here, 10 seconds. So far, it looks like SKT have control of the river. More Kongnu members down there for now. SKT going to be pushing in the mid lane, trying to prepare for this.
Do remember that before the play in mid happened, Fiora was at the enemy inner turret, and they had entire control of the bottom side of the map. One of the things Kongnu Monster gave up from looking for that kill onto effort was this control around the river for the third Infernal Drake spawn of the game. Clear's been able to push in the wave as well, so they don't have the minions working for them in area where they should, and now they're just making it about a team fight by walking into the Inferno.
Faker's in a lot of trouble here. He's got a Fiora on his ass. We got 2 TPs coming in, but finally, Effort gonna come in and a TP from Tall too. This is gonna give that Drake advantage over to Kongnu Monster, trying to burn it down here, flank. Wanna be the spoiler. The wall is gonna come in, trying to zone him out, but actually zones himself and bang out. And now Tall getting low in the back line. It's a 5-on-3, and Kongnu Monster are gonna win it extremely heavily on the back here. 2 kills to Kongnu Monster, and that should be the Infernal Drake as well.
You think Faker, with all his Polybridge experience, would get the wall right, but he doesn't. He cuts off his team with that particular wall. It's a pretty heavy cost, and they're running straight to Baron.
That one cuts deep, the deepest. And I mean, that's 2 members out of the fight, and Kongnu Monster like, okay, we'll take the 5v3. Super easy for us. Should mean the Baron here, as still Blank and Effort are down for a good 10 seconds more. No real way for SKT to come in and steal this one. They'd just be feeding kills.
Secret.
Yeah, looks like Faker wants to make up for it, and this might just be a mistake. He's got his Banshee Veil. but no way to get out of this one as well. Getting super low, the chain's gonna land. You can feel the frustration out of Faker trying to go 1v5, but he feeds another kill, and Kongnu Monster now looking to make this series extremely interesting.
Oh, so frustrating to see, as you can know what Faker was thinking, but the moment he pulled the trigger, you're much more committal on the Weaver's Wall. It has that big impact on your teammates. We remember Jinair playing Sion and Talia, and the Talia wall actually interrupting the Sion ultimate. We watched the replay as Roach rushes onto Faker, forces everyone to move out of position. That's the first variable. Suddenly, the jungler and the support are out of position. We fast forward a little bit. The big problem here is that Kongnu Monster in 4-man formation, Edge chases on to Bang, Faker goes to back him up, but then Kongnu Monster make the right call. They're like, wait, it's 5v3. They rush on to closest target. So while Faker had the idea of peeling for his AD carry, he wasn't really in the position to set that up, and whether you want to fully put everything onto Faker for the wall or for Bang be on the top side of the fight when his support had gone bot side, SKT didn't put everything together, and even with the 5v5 advantage in composition, they are found wanting.
The communication seems off from SKT this game. I don't know what it is, but that's the third time I've seen 2 control wards placed at the exact same time. Members out of position, Faker getting caught. The smite there from Blank on the blue. Looked like Faker had secured that, but now it's Blank's blue. Big questions here, as you mentioned it before. Kongnu Monster, not a care in the world. They're not pressured on this match at all. Whereas SKT, it's playoff lives here. They have to be Kongdu, but now it looks like this might go to 1-1.
Still not willing to call it. The gold lead is not massive. The Infernals and the Baron obviously are a pressing concern. The Infernals never go away. But right now, the Baron buff is more than Kongnu could have dreamed for. Suddenly, it's Fiora with 3 Infernals and Baron. And Camille's like, guys, I don't have teleport. I can't handle this in the 1v1. Fiora has the lead anyway. They're going to lose a lot of things, but the base being broken is a bit trickier for Kongnu, and that is hope. The fact that they have a much inferior 5v5 comp, Kongnu Monster, and the game will naturally crest into a defensive advantage around the base, that gives hope. But right now, they're rushing in, and the hope is not springing internal yet for the side of SKT.
Oh boy, we got a fight off screen. Roach is going 1v2 down to the bottom right. There it is, the double kill, as Roach finally shows up for his team on the Fiora. And you mentioned it might take a little bit of extra time, but with those 2 kills, they might just look to end.
Is Kongnu Monster going to get a pre-30-minute win on SKT?
Looks like it. Effort going to go down to Blank. No hope in the world as he's trying to run away. Bang, he wants to carry again. And Blank actually almost does survive there. Gets taken out in the end.
They don't have minions. Here comes the minions.
There they go. They still got 33 seconds of Baron here. They're going to be pushing in. Again, the question, can they end the game? Roach trying to push Bang away. It's 1v4. Bang wants to carry again. The chain's going to miss.
Still 10 seconds for Faker, then they've done
That's
it.
That's going to do it. The Nexus is going to go down. And guys, we're going to game 3. SKT, they're not in the playoffs yet.
Kongnu Monster, win lane, win game. No problem, apparently. They blow away SKT. The Talia play was a bit of a problem this game after being very clean in game number 1. Even though Edge gave up CS, he was always there popping over the wall, getting the picks, and Fiora showed up with 3 Infernals and 2 items, and 2 members couldn't take him down. This game 3 is cutthroat. SKT's playoff run, which looks so clear just because of yesterday's results, just after game 1. Suddenly there's a storm cloud, and we don't exactly know which way it's going.
What the hell is going on in that booth? I want to see the faces of SKT right now. Generally not too emotive, but the communication was not there in game 2. The pressure is on SKT